let's start with you, Judge. What's your feelings about where our nation is going, what the implications of drug trafficking are, and...
Well, Mike, it is unusual for a sitting judge to hold a press conference, but I'm so deeply concerned about the direction of our country in so many ways, certainly including this so-called war on drugs. I am truly sorry to say, based upon my experience as a federal prosecutor in the United States Attorney's Office in Los Angeles, I was a Navy JAG criminal defense attorney, I've been a trial judge now since 1983, that our country simply is going in the wrong direction. And with regard to this drug prohibition program that we have, you know, we're living in prohibitionary times today. It used to be alcohol prohibition, that didn't work. Now we're living in drug prohibition. That literally, victory in the war on drugs today is defined as slowing down the pace of defeat. It is not only failing, it is not only failed, but it's hopeless. And the reason it's hopeless is because of the money. There is so much money to be made by people selling small amounts of drugs for large amounts of money that we will never stop it. Absolutely never, because as long as the demand is here, the demand will be met. And then you ask yourself, you know, how much corruption can you buy for $1 million in cash on the border or our border guards? And the answer is quite a bit. And then if you get into large-scale transactions, you know, a ton of cocaine, you're talking tens of millions of dollars that you have at your disposal in cash to corrupt people. So that's the problem that we're facing. And if it comes down to it, we can't even keep these dangerous drugs out of our prisons, for heaven's sake. How do you expect to keep them off the streets of New York or any other town and city in our country?
But, yeah.
Well, then you're talking about the money, because truly the whole thing is about money. And who is winning with regard to this matter? One group of people that are winning, like you exactly say, is the terrorists of the world. You know something? Terrorism is funded by drug money. In fact, I call drug prohibition the golden goose of terrorism. And if we truly cared about fighting terrorism, the most critical thing we could do to counteract terrorism would be to take away its funding. And the money primarily comes from drug prohibition. So, yeah. That's what we need to focus on.
Well, you got a couple of complications that we run into that are powerful. One of the most powerful lobbies for drug prohibition at this particular time is the Partnership for a Drug-Free America. They did $2 billion for Say No to Drug advertising. $2 billion. Of course, a DEA agent stationed in South America called me because he too needs a psychiatrist about as much as I do, and said, "Do you know, Mike, that if they just gave us the $2 billion, we could buy every coca leaf in South America?" But
the problem with so many of these things. The Partnership for a Drug-Free America, by the way, is primarily funded by two sources. One is the alcohol industry, the other is the cigarette or tobacco industry. Why do they do that? You know, because they are, of course, drugs, and they're mind-altering, sometimes addicting drugs. They just don't want the competition from the other drugs. So that's a little hypocrisy there, too.
Yeah, $1 billion of that, at least, came from our Congress. By the way.
And that's right.
Yeah, we're stationed down in South America, and let me tell you, tell me if you agree, Sully. You go down there with $2 billion, they'll be fighting to sell you the best.
Well, that's true. There'll always be more, though.
They'll be killing each other to get to you.
The only way that you can beat this thing is to take away the market. And if we can do away with that illegal sales market, and we have that ability simply by making this, what I say is treat marijuana like alcohol. And at that point, we would have less marijuana available for our children than it is today. And the same is true with regard to other drugs as well.